Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. We're talking today about how to help your students and the parents, who are the ones paying, choose an instrument. So, as I've discussed and mentioned many times over the course of the previous episodes of this channel, most people who, when they come into a music store, especially if they have not played an instrument before, they don't know much of anything about instruments. And that's why they come to the people who sell and maintain them, because we're the experts. So that's your job to help them. How do you help them choose an instrument? Well, first off, it depends on what type of instrument that they want to play. We did a previous episode that you should always try to get your students to start on electric if it's a guitar or a bass. They are acoustic basses. They do make electric ukuleles too. That's not such a big thing, because a ukulele is the same exact instrument as acoustic versus electric. You can just plug it into an amp. It sounds the same, or there's such a small difference it barely makes any difference. So that's not a concern. But as far as the acoustic versus electric, we've gone over that. Refer to that episode if you need to. But I will reiterate again, for all the reasons: the thinner body, thinner neck, easier to play physically, don't have to press the strings as hard, etc., etc. Try to get them to buy an electric guitar or bass, because it's just easier to play, and it's a lot more convenient. It looks cooler, and most kids get more excited about that anyway. So helping them choose an instrument depends on a few factors. For one thing, it depends on the price. So most people, they have a pretty good idea of what they want to spend, or if they don't have an idea what they should be spending, of course they're going to ask at the store. But most of the time, about a minimum of $300 in most cases is about what you want to spend to get a basic, even somewhat okay functional instrument. Like this is my acoustic here. You've seen this in previous videos. This is a Yamaha FG830, and I just love this thing. It is the only acoustic guitar I've ever owned. It's about $300 before taxes. At least that's what it was when I bought it a couple of years ago. I don't know what they go for now, but I'm guessing it's probably still in the same price range. This is a great instrument. It sounds amazing. It plays nice. It's not smooth like, the badass Ivan is over here, or any one of these three. But it's acoustic guitar, so it still plays pretty smooth for what it is. It's not $1,000 Martin or Taylor or anything like that, but it does the job really well. It's within the average budget range for starters, and it's a quality instrument. When you're going for electrics, though, it's the same price range essentially, but people are really stingy about spending money at first, because they want to make sure that the kid sticks with it for a reasonable period of time. They don't want to invest a lot if they don't stick with it for very long. We've done an episode on that before. You have to try to convince them that spending the amount of money they need to for the student to be able to enjoy what they're doing only benefits the student, because if they don't enjoy that, then they're wiping their ass with their money they're spending for lessons, because the kid's not enjoying it. They're going to quit anyway, and they're out a bunch of money regardless. And they're going to spend more on the lessons over a long period of time than they're ever going to spend on, a couple $100 guitar. Average price for a half-hour lesson in LA is $35. When you add that over a month, over several months, that's a lot more than they're going to spend on the instrument in the first place, by a considerable amount. But you really got to be careful about those shitty budget guitars that are between $1 and like $250 or even up to $300, because I have picked up some of those things, and because at the store I worked at, you get the low, medium, and the high end, and the ones on the bottom row, almost every one of them, especially like the Jacksons and some of the Squires and some of the really low quality Epiphone guitars, the fretwork is absolutely atrocious, and they are so sharp because they don't file them down, because to cut costs, they are absolute safety hazards. I can't believe I haven't seen a kid slice the shit out of their fingers and actually have missing skin and bleeding all over the place. There was one kid who had an Epiphone SG, and I took it to the tech, and you could literally see the metal shavings falling off of the neck because I'm like, dude, can you do something with this? Because the kid's going to hurt himself. So be aware of and let them know that. They shouldn't even be allowed to sell those pieces of shit, but they do. It's really pathetic, honestly. If I ran a music shop, and they got to make money like anybody else, and budget instruments, I'm sure what keeps the doors open a lot of the time, because most people don't buy, this is a $2,000 instrument. But still, something quality or at least functional that's safe and operational is definitely what you want them to steer towards, because the last thing they want is a kid to get injured while they're playing it. So be aware of that too. Just let them know that fact. It's absolutely atrocious that they're allowed to sell those and not have something done with them prior to arriving at the store. But they do that to cut costs, and they don't have anybody doing the fretwork on them for those reasons. So in addition to that, you can also get the starter pack at a lot of these stores that Guitar Center, Sam Ash, or mom and pop stores will carry them depending on their inventory. Their inventory is always more limited, but because they don't have the super blowout deals and all that stuff, if there's even that many of them around anymore. But you can get everything in one package with the amp, the cable, the tuner, the picks, the strap, extra strings, string winder, everything you need is in one package. You're limited on what you can get, but instead of buying all that separate, they're going to save money that way. And that entices them to buy an electric also, because they get everything in one box and they spend a lot less. The guitar is $130, the amp could be another $100, and then you buy the tuner, that's another $30 or whatever it costs, and then a pack of strings and a string winder and a package of picks, and you're looking at $300-400 sometimes. I'm just rattling this off the top of my head. It's not exact, but it adds up, and it's more than if you just buy it all at once in the same package with the starter pack. And the kid thinks it's awesome because they're getting everything all at once, and they can start playing right now versus having to get the guitar and then wait on getting the amp and everything else that goes with it. And that just makes their learning process and their excitement stay where you want it, which is going up, not stagnating or going down. And a lot of the sales guys can also help you with that too if you work at a store. And if you don't work at a store and you teach privately, then you can definitely help the students pick out instruments by just making recommendations. A lot of times with my private clients, I've had them just send me money to go to the store and get it for them. They'll appreciate that because they're so busy that they can't hardly even take the time to go and do it themselves. So that's another thing that is definitely a perk for you, because you're giving them the convenience of letting you, the expert, do the shopping for them and picking out something they know the kid will like that does the job. And that's actually great because they're putting that trust in you that just reinforces that you're the expert and you know what's best for the student. So that helps out a lot too. And then after all the other things I already discussed, it just kind of depends on literally how cool the instrument looks and what the student likes. So like, these are all Strat style guitars. They call these super Strats. These are Ibanez RGs. You got the acoustic guitar, you've got a Gibson Les Paul, you've got like a Jackson V, you've got a Flying V, you've got the really exaggerated metal body guitars like a Jackson Kelly and things of that nature. And the cooler the guitar looks, the more likely the kid's probably going to want it. But make sure it's comfortable for them, things of that nature, the ergonomics. Those major pointy body guitars tend to be really neck heavy. As soon as you put them on the strap, they dive bomb towards the floor. I can't deal with them. I have a V, but I haven't played it very much. It's hard to get used to. But things of that nature, it's a lot of trial and error. But a lot of it for a kid is going to be the coolness factor. So keep that in mind, because the main thing you want is for them to get excited, for them to get an instrument, so they can get signed up and start paying you as soon as humanly possible, so you can make a living doing this. So, or at least, even if it's a side job and you only have a few students, you're still getting paid and making money through your instrument. So, to recap, we've got just the factor of, is it an acoustic instrument, is it an electric instrument, the cost, the safety factor of don't buy cheap junk shit, Some people will literally call the store, like the mom and pop store I worked at for years, and they were irritated that they couldn't buy a guitar that cost less than $200 because they didn't want to spend any more than that. And I don't know why people approach instruments differently when it comes to that. They'll shit when you tell them you spend $1,000 or more on a quality instrument. Really, they cost that much? Yes, they do. It's like anything else. You can buy cheap shit. You can buy top of the line shit. And then there's the factor of if they get the starter pack versus everything else. And then you've got whether they can even get to the store to get it or not. If it's a private client, you can do that. And then as far as the style factor of, whatever looks coolest. And if you know what kind of music the kid or the student is into, that's a big factor also. So if they're into metal, they're probably not going to pick like your average run-of-the-mill Strat because it doesn't look very metal. But then Les Paul a lot of times doesn't either, even though Les Paul's been played on more metal records than any other guitar. But BC Rich, Jackson's, Ibanez, and ESP's, Total Metal Guitar Company. Those are all really cool looking guitars, and most of the musical instrument stores that are dealers sell all of those. So you're going to find some form of every one of those brands. So you've got a good amount to choose from. And there's, again, with this topic, there's too many variables to be able to cover all of them. It'd be an hour-long video if there was. But this is a basic few guidelines to help your students and their parents pick the instrument that's right for them, just to get started at least. And then, they can always upgrade, which a lot of times if they stick with lessons long enough, they will. And they're going to take your word for what's good, what's not good. Don't buy Indonesian. And just that's cool because they're putting that trust in you that they know what you're they know that you know what you're talking about. And MIJ all the way, Japan. Yes. Sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. Ibanez fans will know what I'm talking about. True Ibanez fans. But anyway, it's all helping you to have a better rapport with your students, keep continuing to make money, and give them the best experience that they can have. And starting with an instrument that just does the job first, but they equally think is cool and are excited about, that they can pay the average amount of money they're expecting to without feeling like it breaks the bank too much, is a win-win for everybody. So that's it for this one. Tune in next time. We'll see you on the next one. Hit the subscribe button, click the bell. Peace out. Until next time.